The king is here! The king is here! What's up, everybody? This is Knuckle King TV. I'm Lucky Knuckles. Today I'm going to talk about my top 5 fights that should happen, or has potential to happen, or that is going to happen. But before I do that, don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe. Okay, so starting off with my first fight, I'm going to go with Deontay Wilder versus Andy Ruiz, because it's rumored, or basically that fight is supposed to be happening next. I would personally prefer Wilder versus Usyk. Number one, since Usyk has 3 of the 4 belts. Wilder already fought Tyson Fury in a trilogy, so we've seen that fight before. I would actually like to see Wilder versus Usyk, possibly Joe Joyce, and after Wilder beats those 2 guys, then rematch or re-rematch Tyson Fury for a 4th time, or 4th and possible final time. But anyway, to the fight that's really going to happen, which is Wilder versus Andy Ruiz. Now, this is an interesting fight because of the style. So Andy is a guy who has really fast hands. So if you're not careful, he can catch you in exchanges, which he likes to do. Although Andy could take a punch, he's been put down several times before, but he's pretty rugged and pretty durable, so he normally gets back up and finishes fights. But with a puncher as devastating as Deontay Wilder, if Wilder lines him up, it's nightmare, it's over. So I believe that Wilder is going to stop Andy Ruiz, but until that happens, it'll be a very interesting fight to see how Andy tries to get in the inside with Wilder, because Wilder has a strong jab as well. So Wilder keep Andy on the outside until he lines him up. It's not gonna be a whole lot Andy could do. But if Andy could slip under that jab, get in the inside, and work his fast hands, he can make it pretty interesting. So going to my second fight that I would like to see, I'm going to go with, obviously, Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. That fight should have been first, but we'll let that slide. So this is a fight that's been in the talks for a while now. It's been a lot of back and forth. It's been alleged that Bud has kind of went MIA on the Spence team and is supposed to be fighting some guy in December, which I don't necessarily mind. I don't mind Bud getting the fight in because it's smart. You want to be sharp and you want to be ready for an opponent like Spence. I just don't like all the back and forth, all the gesturing and posturing, and then nothing happens, and it leaves the fans missing out yet again on a great fight that everybody would like to see. But if and when that fight finally do happens, I would love to see Spence versus Crawford. For my next fight, I would love to see Devin Haney versus Vasyl Lomachenko. Now, Devin is a kid who's been hunting these guys. He's been trying to get the biggest fights he can possibly get. He was even almost lined up to get the Lomachenko fight, but because Devin's not on Top Rank, Lomachenko decided to go another way. And Devin's a problem for these guys, so no one's really gonna be knocking on Devin's door like that. The only reason why they have to fight him now because he's put himself in position. He's worked hard, he's taken pay cuts, and put himself in position to collect all the belts. So if you want any belts or any action at 135, you have to now go through Devin Haney. The only thing I would like Devin to do is, he's really having a hard time making 135 regardless to what he say. In this last 2, I can't remember if it's 3, but in his last 2 weigh-ins, his bodies look good, but his face has been very sunken in and dehydrated. And he's still a younger man, so you can, like when you're young, you're an athlete, you can kind of get away with that. But one is eventually gonna catch up with him, and two, I'm a guy, I don't like giving up advantages. So you're really giving up advantages when you drain yourself like that and then get back in a ring with a guy. It could possibly like if you're in a grueling fight, it can mess with your attrition. And if you're in a grueling fight, if you don't be careful, it can also mess with your punch resistance as well. But that's another great fight. That's fight number 3 on my top 5 fights I would love to see, or that should happen, or that has the potential of happening. For my 4th fight, I'm gonna go with an up and coming 147 pounder that's been ripping guys up and that a lot of guys are afraid of. Boots Ennis, Boise Boots Ennis. Now Keith, so I would personally like to see him fight Ugas, because a lot of guys haven't been, number one, Boots haven't been in a marquee fight yet, number one. Number two, a lot of guys are afraid to call Boots' name out, like nobody's raising their hand to fight Boots. And he needs a marquee fight to put him on the map so that guys can quit making the excuse that he hasn't fought anyone. And number three, Ugas has actually been calling out Boots' name. So before, Boots had a legitimate argument like, hey, you know what? I'm trying to get these fights. No one's really looking for me. Everybody's scared to fight me, so on and so forth. Well, now you have no excuse. If you claim you can't get fights, or guys are afraid to call your name, and you have a former champion, a former recent champion, because he just fought Earl and lost his belt to Earl Spence. So you have a former recent champion in your weight class, a natural 147 pounder, and he's saying, pick me, I want that fight. So from this point on, if you don't fight Ugas, because Ugas is with the PBC and has ties with the WBC/Showtime, if you don't fight Ugas, stop coming in the camera, stop making videos talking about nobody won't fight you, etc., etc. Because we got a guy who want to fight you, and he not only do he want to fight you, he's calling out your name in every interview. So I would love to see Boots versus Ugas. If you don't get Ugas, go ahead and throw Keith Thurman in there to the wolves and let Boots beat up on Keith Thurman and style on Keith Thurman. That way he'll at least have a former champion / marquee name under his belts, which will allow him to get more bigger fights and bring more credibility to the table. So guys can stop making excuses about why they don't want to fight him. Last but not least, I'm going to go with Jermall Charlo versus Canelo Alvarez. Now, this is a fight that should have probably happened years ago, but Canelo, Canelo kind of steers away, excuse me, he steers away from certain kind of fighters. Normally, these are fighters who are athletic, strong, durable, and who have mobility, because Canelo don't really have good mobility or good feet. He can hunt you down and walk you down, but as far as guys who have good athleticism and that are strong, especially if you possess a strong jab, that's why he was beat. Not in the GGG fight, but the fight before that, the opponent was a big guy who was solid, who had a solid jab and who could take his punch. That's the Canelo kryptonite. Any guy who possessed those tools will beat Canelo most of the times. So I would love to see the Jermall versus Canelo Alvarez fight to finally see how Canelo will handle, because Jermall is not bigger than him either. They roughly about the same size. So that'll be a good, strong opponent that a lot of people want to see. Athletic, one of the stronger jabs in the industry. Also, Jermall hasn't had a big marquee fight, so this can be a very big fight / opportunity for him as well. This will be a great treat for the boxing fans. I would love to see how both fighters deal with not only with one another, but with the adversity both styles and both fighters will bring to the table. Because by Jermall not being in a big time, high profile fight, this will allow him to have that opportunity and see how he responds. This will also allow Canelo the opportunity to show and prove that he can beat a strong, athletic fighter who possesses a strong jab and stop it. Like Canelo do a lot of picking and cherry picking. Although he has had some marquee fights under his belt, for the most part, he's only fought Floyd, which he's lost to, GGG, which he beat this last fight, but the first two fights, I didn't see it how it was called. Like, I personally thought that Triple G beat Canelo in the first fight, and I personally thought that the second fight could have easily been a draw. But that's not how the judges saw it, so it kind of is what it is. But once again, I would personally like to see Jermall Charlo versus Canelo Alvarez, and I'll make that my conclusion to the top 5 fights that I would like to see that either will happen, are in the talks to happening, or that should happen. Once again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This Knuckle King TV, these Lucky Knuckles, and I'm out.